So, Forrest, you're based out of Minneapolis.
I live in Minneapolis for the time being.
For the time being, and you've got to see a lot of what's been going on. Mm-hmm. We got the story from the Star Tribune. Here we go. Brooklyn Center passes police reform package. Bravo. Black Lives Matter. They've won this one.
Yep.
The failed leadership of Brooklyn Center has caved. One of the things they're going to be doing, an unarmed civilian traffic enforcement division. Here's my favorite thing. Civilian. Mm-hmm. Are police civilians?
Technically, yes. Technically, no. I'm not going to be able to answer that one because I think you could make the argument in many ways that they're functionally neither right now.
Functionally neither.
They're functionally neither because, I mean, sure, they're not citizens in the sense that they work for the government. Where do we make that distinction either is another question, because I think that's a very modern way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because a soldier is not considered a citizen, but he's still a citizen of the country.
You mean civilian?
He's not considered a civilian, yeah.
But they're citizens.
They're citizens,
civilian.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, they're combatants. They're armed forces.
Mm-hmm.
And
so conventionally the answer is no.
But I would say that if you're talking from a military perspective, the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. They're not going in foreign war. They're literally living in a small town and dealing with local domestic law. Mm-hmm. They're civilians.
So the line gets blurred because you have when you talk about the police, you're talking about a very large swath of people. Right. You've got your small town sheriff, and you've got CIA, you've got FBI, you've got BORTAC, you've got people who are much more militant than most people don't see them, and are they both considered the police?
Well, so let's get into meat and potatoes here. Mm-hmm. They've successfully reformed their police, and mm-hmm. it's beyond what I would consider, because I've said we need reform, but I'm usually talking about creating more divisions, like an unarmed traffic enforcement. Okay, well, maybe if the idea is like you see someone commit a traffic violation, you write down their license plate and they mail them a ticket. Mm-hmm. That's something they've been talking about doing. But what do you think would happen if someone, an unarmed civilian tries pulling over? Let's say there's a guy, mm-hmm. and maybe he was at a party, mm-hmm. and he wakes up and he's got a gun, mm-hmm. and he goes to one of the people one of the people who lives there, mm-hmm. and then he says, "Give me all your money," and then shows that he's got a gun. Let's say that's the person, and now this person is wanted for that crime, which is a felony. Mm-hmm. Let's say they're driving, and the unarmed person pulls them over, by whatever means the division is able to do it. The lights turn on, I guess. They have some kind of car, and they get out. What do you think happens to a person in a situation like this?
You do have a disparity of power, and you also have a disparity of the duty. So is it the duty of the unarmed civilian to pull somebody over, or is it just a privilege of their position, right? So
please stop.
Yeah, I mean, you're
leaving.
Powerless to employ it, but is there the burden, the onus of the state on you to go do it? Do you have a quota? Oh, well, there's more people drunk driving in our neighborhood right now. Yeah, there are. They're all armed, and I'm not. Right? Like, what are you going to do?
Quotas are bad.
It's the bureaucratic problem.
I feel like this is the opening the door to defund the police completely. And it's kind of funny too, because one of the ways police get funding is through tickets, and I'm not a fan, especially when they do quotas.
Yeah.
So now it's like they're being defunded by taking away their ability to issue traffic violations.
I think it can be seen as a lot more sinister too. So you take your example earlier. They see you commit a violation, or they put up traffic cameras and they see you run a red light. Then they send a ticket to your house, which you cannot fight, or if you try to fight it, it's going to cost you time and money. So you just sort of now have to pay it. But
most people do.
But if you don't, then they send armed people with guns to your house. Now you have a position of creating that pipeline of going from, I don't like you, I write you a ticket for something that could be bogus, could be legitimate. It goes to your house, knowing that you're not going to pay it, and then you don't fight. We're starting to.
Now they can search your house.
Now they can search your house. Now they can seize your property. This is called. Look at what this is already in effect in London.
Wow.
Right? You go to London, you run a red light, you park in the wrong place, you will have a ticket sent to your house, and you can't fight it. Well, you can.
And then if you don't pay it, the cops show up, and now you've got some kind of crime. They can let us in.
It creates a paper trail. It's crime by bureaucracy, not
now,
crime.
if they pull you over while you're driving, you get a ticket and don't pay it, they can still go to your house and arrest you and go into your house.
Yes, but there was somebody there to witness it. That is the purpose of American policing, right. Is that a person has to do it.
I think, though, in the end, this would increase the likelihood of these, because I once got in the mail 2 tickets from Chicago. Final determination, they said. And I was like, what is this? I had gotten 2 parking tickets for parking outside of my dad's place in Chicago, but I had a permit. I had a parking permit. I guess a cop, somebody wrote me 2 tickets, never put them on my car. I never got notice of them until it was a final determination. And so when I got it, I called and said, what is this? I have a permit to park where I did. And they were like, sir, it's too late. You lost your chance to fight the ticket. So imagine you get pulled over. All right, you get pulled over, you get a ticket, you don't pay it. They can eventually come to your house maybe to serve a warrant for failure to appear or something like that. But let's say you never even knew you did anything wrong. Let's say you didn't do anything wrong. Let's say you were driving right and one of these unarmed people was just like, he blew a stop sign as far as I'm concerned. You get a ticket in the mail. You never realize it came in the mail. You're like, I don't know what these are. You throw it in the trash. Then one day they show up at your house and you're like, what's happening? When there's an interaction between you and the officer, I think there's a likelihood you're going to be aware of what's happening. This will probably increase the likelihood cops start showing up to people's homes. And I can only imagine that would maintain the same ratio of violent encounters.
It's not going to get better, that's for sure. I mean, it's not. It's because now you're going to take the cultural perception of the police as a threat in certain areas, and you're going to paint that across the whole population, right?
But apparently, I was reading this, and they are going to pull people over.
Yes.
So I can only imagine that the people are going to be like, you get pulled over, and a guy walks up in like a polo and khakis, and he's like, excuse me, sir, you are speeding. I'm supposed to write you who are you? You a cop? No, sir, I'm not a cop. Later.
Yeah. Or
what obligation do I have to stop for someone who's not a cop?
I mean, are you just going to look back in your mirror and say it's a red and yellow light, not a red and blue light, so I might as well just drive home? Oh, I live in a gated community. You're not allowed in here. So if you come in here, I'm going to call the actual cops to tell you to not come in.
I think it's funny. These people go around like smashing up windows, starting fires. We saw what happened right now in Minneapolis. They're people are freaking out. They're demanding more cops. They're increasing the budgets. And then this one town, Brooklyn Center, which is like north, just like basically due north. All of a sudden they're like, we're gonna do the opposite. We're just gonna carte blanche.
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn Center is gonna get eaten by Minneapolis. It's gonna get folded in.
I mean, has that happened recently? Is it? Because
folded in, like it's within the counties. Brooklyn Center is essentially Minneapolis.
So what's it like living in Minneapolis? Is it the apocalyptic wasteland we all believe it is because we watch nothing but internet videos?
It's not completely the apocalyptic wasteland. It's not the.
But it is basically Kabul
it's
or
closer to
Mosul.
It feels a lot more like being in Kandahar than it does like being in America.
But do you mean that for real? Like.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite the same. I'm not driving an armored vehicle around, but there are definitely like we have new SOPs, standard operating procedures amongst us and our friends and our family. Like
you actually served though. You were.
Yeah, I was in the military for a while.
So just because there's probably a lot of people like he has no idea what he's talking about, Minneapolis. And, no, you're actually.
No, I have had the privilege of being in the armed forces for a while. It was a great time.
What did you do in the military?
I was a Ranger, Army Ranger.
Right.
So it was a great time.
So now being back home, and it's like what similar? It's not as bad.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, no one's burning tires to block the roadways for 3 months of the year.
There's an autonomous zone where they like
we do have an autonomous
zone, barricades
zone,
and threaten people with violence.
So in the same way, there are places that we just don't go. Like there are roads you don't take.
No-go zones.
There's definitely like, hey, we communicate. My family would communicate, and it's like, hey, I'm going to go get groceries. Okay, cool. I mean, that's kind of normal for some people, but we're definitely more conscious about what we're looking at, what threats we're looking for, what kind of concerns we have. And then we have a little network of people that are all friends and families in the Twin Cities that we're all looking out for each other.
Is this new? Like this behaviors and these defensive tactics?
It absolutely initiated last year when the riot started. We spontaneously set it up. We just called all the people that we knew. We built a kind of a network through social media conversation or through Signal or through text messages, and we established ways that we talk to each other so that we could very effectively verify rumors. So one of the worst things that happened during the riots last year, not this year, was essentially the entirety of social media became an advertisement for things that aren't happening. The white supremacists are coming down from New Brighton. These people are coming from here. We just saw this thing happen, and it was like everyone was on so high alert that they were spreading rumors so quickly, which added to the fervor. It added to the terror in the sense. And so one of the things that we had to do as a community is by our own volition, by our own choice, verify information ourselves. So, okay, if someone's saying that this is on fire, or they're moving towards, one of the concerns that they had last year was, if the police provide a strong enough presence in defending a precinct, or they harden targets in, like, when they mean harden target, like make it difficult for people to loot and riot in certain areas, they're going to move into the residential areas. Right. So the moment we heard that, it was like, okay, how can we verify that information? Because that sounds a lot like hearsay, but it also has a big threat.
So you're basically creating like a neighborhood watch. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's a neighborhood watch.
Unofficial. It's like, you have a chat group. Remember when I was talking about this maybe like a week or two ago, when I said what's going to start happening is there's more violence. You'll see the formation of like local community groups.
That's exactly what it is.
They'll start texting each other. Hey, I heard this. Are you all right? There'll be text groups.
Yep.
And it's going to escalate from there.
Yeah, and we took it a step further of having triggers and conditions, or conditions and appropriate responses. So like, in the event that X happens, we do Y, right? In the event that we see this happen, so like if the protest goes to this precinct, we go to this person's house and get their wife and child out. Wow. And move them out of the city and put them into a safe house. And we did that. We had to do exactly that.
You mentioned earlier, you said for the time being, so you're getting out, aren't you?
Yeah, we're looking at moving out of state. Our families are there, but there's not a lot of reason to live in Minneapolis right now. It does not look like a bright future.
Everybody's going to Texas, I guess.
Texas is a big one. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy when you mention like these streets you don't go down, and that's like a new thing since the start of the riots. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, I mean, the term Minnesota nice is not entirely pejorative. It also does mean that, like, generally speaking, you can drive through most of the city and not be in actual fear for your life. But when I go to a place and I see a roadblock with armed people that just by looking at them know that they have no idea what they're doing with that firearm, given it's their right to have it, but I know that they don't know what they're doing with it, I'm not going to put myself in the position of no reward and all risk.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And if you want exclusive members-only content segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.